are going to get ratcheted up a notch. Can go fight right now. Floki, Clement, Nakos, who's been heating up game 2 and game 3. This cannot go. They have to go their way here. Yes.
Also going to end up dropping from a couple boxes away, getting a key siphon too over onto Nakos, who desperately needed the extra shield. They wanted that pickup. They know that Frostroki is still around here ahead of them. Shockwave is going to be very dangerous for this trio to approach the outside. Still 66 players remaining, 25 trios, so continuing the trend of having a little bit of a denser lobby. However, thanks to those 3 eliminations, they're not going to have to worry about this tier 2 Storm Surge when it rears its head.
Yeah, it feels great. They got the elims, but they're not yet in the placement threshold. We are about 8 trios going down before we can start doling out those points. And this is the things they're already overcoming these engagement obstacles, but they're not out of the water yet. There's still some stormy skies ahead of them. Nakos, Floki, and Clemento are making their way up the board slowly.
¿Qué pasó ahora?
Key things about this trio is their ability a little bit more effectively. Again, we've talked about it in the games where they don't drop right away. They're one of the more aggressive. The matter of importance is in the bottom right-hand corner. You see that white circle? That's the 4th safe zone. There's only 3 trios currently inside of it, so everyone else is going to begin a mad dash to just pack in on the southern side of that circle. The entirety of the lobby will be trying to squeeze into that area because everyone else is going to be coming from that side. Nobody wants to put themselves as the first ones out over water. It makes it so easy. You can see everyone going at once, just desperately swimming, hoping to avoid the fire at the top. And just look at the charge up the beach. Storming the beachhead comes EU.
Oh my goodness, and we're seeing trios already going for height. Mongo Mitro at height, and just behind them, looming in a distance, as Benzi trio. And they're kind of gambling in. If the circle goes their way and half in and half out, they're going to have a strong hold here. So Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson here are just now beaming any kind of salmon trying to swim upstream. And they're going to be that bear that's going to feed on this entire rotation here. And look at the congestion that you're seeing here. Everybody, like you mentioned, Sundown, all trying to get on the beach as much as possible. And engagement that took up the time is influencing them. It's hurting them on this rotation, Sundown.
And they're completely out there. Clement got picked up earlier. Nakos going down right afterward in the long rotation. The top 4 team, we talked about their ability to get eliminations, but at what cost? Apparently everything, as our number 1 trio sits high atop their perch, high atop the throne. They're first in the leaderboard. They're first right now in positioning here. Nakos gets a little bit of a gimme there as Dave, aka Rojo, will tick over, but one more player will drop and our Storm Surge will turn off. We have 19 trios left, so almost into the placement points, but yet again, up on the high ground, Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson priority positioning. Our second place team still in the lobby, but they're going to have to be toppled at some point. The clock is against everyone else as Janice and Andulex are also without a squeeze. They're in a duo. However, luckily for everyone, the lobby is pulling completely away from that with the little side note that we are going all the way over the water. So expect a ton of utility to be burnt here with only 3 trios having priority.
Split Splash, we are taking a bath here in this in-game. It's all going to be aquatic. It's all going to be chaotic. It's all going to be dangerous. But at the end, there's going to be someone that's going to have a victory royale. They're going to be soaked. They're going to be tired from all the sweat and all the water. But it's going to be a big game. Somebody could easily kind of bolt their way up their leaderboard. But if Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson, yes, they didn't get the victory royale. But Shayo said it best. They kind of got a mini victory just by staying up. And look at it. They're at high. This is going to be big considering everything's going to be over water. The low ground warriors are not going to have the ability to save the resources.
3 eliminations, everyone still top of the leaderboard. Every Mongrel and Mitro get affected. If you get that point, they're getting it too. They'll continue to open up that lead, and unless somebody of our transition into the end game, and we're gonna head over to the Shark, baby.
Yes, and now Cammy, you know, that was a trio that was able to knock off Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson with a shockwave play. That is the EU thing to do. No doubt, Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson know how to kind of combat that. They know the defense, and they get a good spread, and there it is. They're going to beam all these people trying to go for it. They're already going to the tip of the nose of the Shark. They're becoming the Sharks of the region. We already have a Rogue Shark, NA East, the X-Set boys, and all that. But Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson are being the alpha predators, the apex of right now in this EU region. And that is proof in the pudding, considering they're sitting on top of the leaderboard, and they're looking pretty, and they're looking swaggish, because right now Tayson picked up a knock in the feet, and we already seen this. Double E limbs comes from height.
A Shark with a laser beam on top of It's Mongrel up there with a legendary Stark infantry rifle, raining shots from above. We saw Savage go down in the feed. Lefty's going to pick up another elim. Despite the fact that 17 players have dropped, not a single trio has gone down, so only one placement point doled out. And as I say that, they begin to tick over. Mongrel gets another elimination. 15 trios remaining, going to be forced over to the side. He's going to build back up. He needs to get over to the high ground and connect with this team, but they are doing a great job of executing this textbook high ground control, and it's going to be their match to close out. However, low on mats is Mongrel, but he says don't have our top 20 players, top 11 trios.
And it's going to go back over water again. And it all is up to Tayson, the in-game leader, to kind of lead Mongrel and Mitro to the prime position with getting a knock on ZQ, getting them those angles that they need to send those beams down. We've already labeled these as one of the strongest players in the region with beams, and look at this, it's going to go off a waterfall, so the more elevation is going to go down and down. This is going to be crazy. This is intense. Coral Castle, and now we're going to take a peek just for a brief moment at what is going down in the chaos down below. We have the ultimate box fighter teams, Wolfie, CRR, and Kenzel sitting in third place, trying to say, wait a minute, not so fast, Mongrel. We are going to contest you, and we are going to have a chance to win, but it's going to require a huge effort to dethrone the Kings on top, Sundown.
And we still need to see them go down. However, Janus on his feet, despite Andelix being up to the second place team, at least still getting up to fifth. That's what the top trios do the best in the game. They manage to find a way to eke out these placement points. We've talked about it, that Europe has kind of been the run of the Lone Ranger of the final moments. And if there isn't a trio hip to hip, then there's an opportunity for the clutches to come through. But right now, on the low ground, you have one of the most dangerous trios who is hip to hip, as Hen will go down there. Deceptos following in his feet right away will signal the end of that trio, but Wolfies is at the back of the storm. But at the end of the day, the story of EU, time and time again, E11 Tayson, the Chapter 2 Season 3 solo winner, Liquid Mitro and Mongrel on the high ground running it out. It's a 3v2. They have 11 eliminations, and at this point, it is a battle for second. There is no way, unless there is a monumental ruin, that with the way this trio is playing so far, anybody will be able to catch them or repeat this performance. And this is why Mitro drops down. Tayson and Mongrel shooting fish in a literal barrel of the zone. 13 eliminations, 38 points.
You know they're feeling it when Tayson edit downs Mitro to be the ultimate swanton bomb off the top rope, getting the big-time E-limbs and the victory royale. Sundown. Wow, man. We all question, will Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson have a successful hot start in day 2? And that right there, with the great consistency in that opening games, proves that they have a great chance of walking away to being
5 points through the first. now just over 25 points a game. That's a victory royale with nothing else. This run is nuts, but we're going to send it on over to Zeke, Shio, and Reese to show us how good it really is.
First game jitters, no. Number one, listen, first game jitters are gone. The trio this out for us, right? Tayson being your solos invitationals FNCS champion from Chapter 2 Season 3. Coming in, you've got the veterans, the pioneers, Mongrel and Mitro. You slam them all together, and we may very well be looking at the next FNCS Trios champions. Let's take a look at these leaderboards. Look at this lead, gentlemen.
It is monstrous. 186 points to 122, and these guys have 3 victory royales.
That's incredible, actually. 64 points in the lead. And you know, Mongrel and Mitro have been known as this really aggressive 2 players. Solo, duo, when they started teaming up with Tayson, I felt like it was a personal, fantastic choice because Tayson is very calm, collected, very keeps his own head, and he can IGL these guys into victory. And throughout the start of the FNCS, there was a lot of memes on social media about Tayson, you know, struggling to keep these 2 on their leash. But it seems like at this point, he's wrapped it all up, and these guys are just playing incredibly consistently.
And we'll have much more to break down as to what they did in that last game. So these guys are now just 1 point beside each other. We'll see how their story kind of unfolds in these next few games and who gets to have that second place slot. Over here from 6th all the way to 10th place, Benji, Savage, and Letchi finding some success with Elims in a few games, not making those end games completely. 85 points right now. Past that from 7th to 10th, it is just a 4-point game from Floris' trio all the way down to Teeks.
Yeah, very, very close between the 6th and 10th. And, you know, we just talked about Benji's team there. They kind of been struggling being contested off spawn, kind of similar to what we've seen during the qualifiers. You know, they'll win that fight, but it'll drag out way too long, and the rotations just aren't good because of that. So I don't know what the next plan is for the next few games today, but hopefully they can kind of figure that out. But moving on to our next page, 11th down to 15th, kind of the similar names that we've seen over the last 2 days on this page.
Yeah, I was going to say that the top 15 is really kind of looking standard now. These guys have found their pacing. It's a coming in and out, but at the same time, the same teams still on the page. We see Lanuf, Marine, and Jaspe on this page right now, 47 points, and testing that top team in first place. Hen, Deciptos, and Putrick finding some success here on day 2, but these guys will have to have great games to catch up to that top 5.
Guys, this last game felt like a superhero movie, right? We had the shot of the waterfall. We had players trying to go up and down, and then finally the heroes find themselves basking in the sun at the end, being victorious. I mean, we very well could be looking at our next FNCS champions, but there's more that kind of happened here in the game. So I'm going to kick it over to you guys. Walk us through what you guys are seeing.
Yeah, we'll have some big perspectives here earlier on in that end game from Mongrel and how these guys kind of learned from their last game, game number 1 of today, fixed their mistakes, and in game number 2 really played the zone very well to get that victory royale.
You can see they're already on height at this point, but they claimed that during the 50-50 zone because they got the zone right on them from 4th. That 5th zone, they could completely utilize that and keep height from there on out.
Yeah, in game 1, the mistake was kind of putting all the eggs in one basket, but not really knowing exactly where that basket stood. In this zone, there was water completely in the low. Comfortable on staying on height the whole time. Tayson here as well staying at the front. Mongrel staying in the back so he could keep tabs on any trios trying to shockwave up like we saw Artours do before. There's that water dive bomb play as Sancho called out. CRR, Kinzel, and Wolfies tried their best to play this water zone, but being on height is the best choice when you're in this type of zone, this aquatic kind of formation of what ends up happening for everyone on low. It's so hard to find your footing, and because of that, Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson stayed high, stayed dry, and ended up winning that game with beautiful decision making.
And Mitro actually, if you saw there, edited down by Tayson, which didn't seem like an accident. You know, initially when you watched that back, it seemed like Mitro was going to make the aggressive play to go pick up those eliminations. But, you know, even the top teams make a mistake at the end, accidentally editing Mitro down into the water. But because they were over that water, he was safe from fall damage, and they all managed to frag out and pick up that big victory royale.
Hey, look, you just got to fake it till you make it, right? It's not a mistake if you don't call it out. It's a calculated risk, a calculated plan of attack. And when you're as far ahead as these guys, when you're as skilled as these guys, when you've been on the scene as these L's into W's, that's just what they do. I want to see them continue with this momentum. Remember, we've got another 5 games on the day. Anything can happen. But will it? We have to kick it back over to our casters to continue the storylines, and we'll be back after this with more breakdowns. Take it away, boys.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Reese. And here we are into the match number 8. And so far, it's been all Tayson, Mongo, and Mitro with nothing less than a 7th place. Ready, looking at the mini-map. For the first time in what feels like a long time, there's some other triangles at Stark Industries. So somebody has decided to pony up. Somebody has decided to rise to the challenge and be the David to their Goliath over at Stark Industries. We'll be keeping an eye on that elimination feed, but with the Southern Zone 2 right on the edge of that, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Hey, I don't know, man. I've been watching Ghostbusters. Just getting me in the Halloween spirit. You guys released some awesome outfits, and that is a biblical proportion type feat. That is one giant marshmallow man to overcome there. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to bust the bubble of Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson. They are on an unbelievable ride. But one hero that may stand tall, one trio that can get that job done is Kenzel, Wolfies, and CRR. They can make things interesting. And the reason why I say that is because they could pop off with elims as well. And they've been putting it all together. We're getting some placement points, Sundown.
And one thing to note in particular about the last game, you saw how he had the bandage cannon on the low ground, but being out of mats, and when you're in the water, you can't actually fire the bandage against anything. It will go all the way down to the bottom of the water. So despite being on 28 against, as we actually see up in the elimination feed, and Dretta pick up another early elimination there, but also we saw Lecce end up going down as well. So another one of our power trios a little bit here off of the start. The dual media boys giving them everything they can handle so far here on day 2.
And I gotta know, as we seen that Snipe does pick up an elim on Benji, what happened? What went down there in Stark Industry? We gotta see in a moment notice. We'll get that replay up going.
Yeah, and that was Benji's full elim as well. Their trio is down. You keep an eye on that top left corner now, as we're gonna see. It's enough. Thomas HD and Flick. If there's anybody to rise to the challenge and go after these guys, it will be them. You can see Anas already holding on to the elimination. Flick finds Mitro off of the start, and not only that, but the power weapons in their hands. You can see Tayson tries to make a little bit of an escape here, but you know they're going to ride that one down right away. Big white tags coming out there, and Flick, who accounts for 75% of this trio's eliminations pre-round, or pre-one here, and they're going to wrap up for the first time in this tournament. Tayson, Mitro, and Mongo go down with 0 points. They had never finished lower than 7th place before this, and that was all the way back in the first game. So now, all of a sudden, that battle for 2nd place, everyone else gets that one opportunity to kind of, I believe the technical term is, shrink that leaderboard gap just a little bit.
Oh man, and that is the story that we have now developing. I took a look at Twitter, okay? I took a look, and Flick, all he tweeted out was a demon emote. That's all, emoji. That's all he tweeted out. Anas, he said, we should have never left. I'm telling you, the problems of switching from their drop spot, they switched from that dirty docks where they were being so strong and so prominent, and they had strong finishes. When they switched to retail row, I just think they noticed that it wasn't enough. They weren't getting their power weapons. They weren't getting all the resources that they need for their play style. And now they realize that, hey man, you know, yeah, you never know. They could pop off. You never know, Sundown.
And we've talked about it before as well with this trio coming through. One, they're incredible in terms of their playmaking ability, whether it's early or late game. We've seen Flick just kind of running. They also get a nice little Llama 210 pick up there, some extra mats, extra utility. Not that the Stark Industries team will need it after that fact, but I mean the playmaking capability. But on the flip side of that, let's talk about kind of the mental check that's now going to put on Micho, Mongo, and Tayson.
Huge.
Because for this entire competition, they haven't had to had to worry about thinking who's going to come there. They haven't had to game plan something else. They haven't had to prep for somebody to come challenge them. Now, all of a sudden, not only are you eliminated in 30 seconds with 0 points, you have to sit there for a half hour, watch everyone else jail, no more games for you back in the lobby, and they're out of that rhythm a little bit. They're a trio who very much kind of rides on that momentum. They're very, very emotional players. When they made the World Cup announcement back in the day, people joked about Micho and Mongo being the loudest duo, both for the keyboard clacks and just the way they celebrate when they make their plays. But now that they've been silenced for a second, how do they react?
Tayson will have the biggest challenge of them all. Will Mongo and Micho put up that brick wall and not listen to his calls? Yeah, it's going to be up to Tayson to kind of hold that ship from going capsizing completely. Giannis, Analex, and Xweez, they have an opportunity now to gain some grounds here. They are about 60-plus points away. They're certainly sitting in second place. Another trio that we took a peek in down in... That opens up the door to gain some ground, but... And the FNCS trios,
and it was starting to feel like it couldn't be overcome because of how consistent they were. There was no hope. There was nobody who wanted to rise up and be the ones to challenge them. However, we've kind of talked about it before. Like, Jaspe and Co., yes, they 50-50'd the chess, but they were relatively successful, and they turned a couple of those late games around. So especially if a top trio comes in with a game plan on how to take those fights, and they come in not necessarily fearing those three off of the bat, which they're one of the three players who can really genuinely say, like, yeah, let's go fight these guys and maybe come out better than 50-50. Now all of a sudden you're gonna think, okay, Mongo really wants to get revenge there, but if they're not, they haven't had to practice this drop being contested through the first 6 or 7 games. Now all of a sudden, 8th game they lose it. 9th game, if they lose it again, there's gonna be that seed of doubt in there. But right now, Razumi trying to get a little bit of doubt on this team, rotating away here, and a little bit of storm tags as they just remain utilizing their soft mats to get some positioning.
And Safik's trio here is looking for a good start here in day 2. Haven't gotten any points at the moment in 11th place. Safik has been one of our slayers here in the region, picking up 15-plus elims by himself. But speaking of opportunities, opening the door here, it feels like, you know, at Anas, Thomas, Stacey, and Flick have slayed the beast, right? Now all the villagers are going to have a good time to try to claim that castle up there. And Nakos, Clement, and Flokis have an opportunity to storm that castle. They're sitting in 4th place at the moment. They're still about 30 points away, so that is a victory royale. They could definitely do it in one punch, but they could slowly jab their way up their leaderboard, Sundown.
I would say it's probably more equivalent to either scratching the dragon's nose and making him think for a second.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's where he breathes the fire out of, so he's got like a little, it's like, that's a minor discomfort. I wasn't ready for that. I'm going to come back in a moment, but like, the villagers are celebrating. They're like, yay, we drove off the beast. Or it's like punching a great white shark in the face. It's like, yeah, you know what? You punched the great white shark in the face, but that shark is still in the water with you. Yeah, you showed that maybe you might be a little bit of a threat. Maybe you can punch back. But he's still there. They still exist, and while they're going to be forced out for just a little second, one, who takes advantage of that opportunity? And 2, what happens when that angry shark, that angry dragon, the poked bear decides to come back in the next match? But right now, we're going to keep on board here with the teams who will have an opportunity to close the gap, because realistically, going into the back 5 of these games, only really the teams in the top 4 or maybe the top 5 can statistically still kind of overtake this route, and it's going to take a large effort. As you see Clement going and doing every little thing right, making sure they maximize on the utility here, going all the way out and picking up that second big pot, and then going to rotate back up the zone.
And, you know, I know the Halloween party is over and all that spooky scariness, but I've always learned to double tap. You always got to double tap and make sure that monster is down. And that's what Flick, Thomas, and Nos are going to have to double tap that down if they're going to keep Mongrel's trio at bay. So, Mongrel trio is out. Now let's just focus in on who is in and who has the opportunity to go up the leaderboard. And if you're questioning anybody out there, like, why would Thomas and Nos and Flick do that? Because they're slipping down the leaderboard. They start off the day with 15. They're going down to 17. Having Stark, that strong POI in their back pocket now, could enable them to get up their leaderboard and secure themselves thousands of dollars. All of it is on the line.
And people are going to say, oh, why would they go and grief the top trio like that? And to my response to that, are you crazy? Are you crazy? They're competing to try to be the absolute top mark.
Yes.
And if this is a trio who is more than capable of winning games, especially when you see Thomas and Anas enabled with shot, that's how they've won their games. And if you can go Stark and guarantee that, yes, you have to fight one of the best teams in the entire game to get them. But if you want to win, you have to beat those guys anyway. And they finally said enough is enough. And if you're going to post your spot on Twitter, if you're going to talk about how you're so good at defending this spot, you better have a game plan and you better back it up. Because anybody has the opportunity to land anywhere. This is Fortnite Battle Royale. And if the team gives you a hard enough time, you need to game plan better and find a way to deal with it.
And that is what we call preach right then and there, Sundown. Now we're on board here with the BDS Robots. They got a victory royale here. They were able to have a very nice aggressive play. They kind of took the textbook of fighting on the low ground, doing really well, and they got a victory royale. So one of the few teams that have a victory royale, because Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson have 3 victory royales. Yanis Trio has 1 victory royale. Kenzel Trio has 1, and as well, Gamma's Cammy's Trio has 1 as well. Cammy and Co. So those are the stories that are unfolding here. And the great thing is, you know, we can speculate all you want, but it is the competitors themselves that answers the questions. And that is what we're watching here as the drama unfolds. And the drama will pick up for Wolfies and CRR, considering Kenzel, the back-to-back DreamHack champion, goes down. And Kenzel is just like just like Tayson for this trio. He kind of holds it all together, considering that in DreamHack it's a very placement-heavy format, and having that ability to kind of slow pace, passively, aggressively at times whenever you needed to get your way further into in-game, that's going to help out people like CRR Wolfies, who are known to be great opens box fighter players.
But right now, we're keeping on that Storm Surge threshold on the right-hand side, just above the map. We talked about them being below it. Well, the key snipe there, coming from that World Cup runner-up there, the young controller player from England, Wolfies, finding a great tag and a sneaky little bullet in there on Takira through the window, just like a true sniper would. Well done to put himself above. And we talk about the little moments. That moment is so much bigger than just the 1 point on the elimination. Shedding themselves of that Storm Surge threat is going to be massive in terms of just getting positioning. As we've seen, atypical compared to what we've seen in Europe so far. There's been more and more Storm Surge threshold. And coming into Grand Finals, no team had more Elans versus Mongrel's trio than Flicks. And a part of that has to do with the rotation path. They're always coming out of the east and passing that Stark Industries. And also, man, just pound for pound, they're one of the few trios who actual wall-to-wall matches up with those guys. And when we talk about kind of wall-to-wall, that's when you're in a box against somebody and not necessarily in the same space, but owning 1 or 2 walls in between you guys. These guys execute on those fights almost better than anyone in Europe.
And Thomas is a superstar, had a great run in heats. Anas and Flick are right behind him as well. They're forming a very strong trio. Thomas HG had some Twitter barbs with Zexro from NA East. Thomas HG was talking about, hey, who could come over here from NA East and compete? Should I go over there? It's so interesting. We all wish we had a World Cup Part 2. Like I said, sometimes the sequels are better than the originals. We all wish that. We all wish we'd be able to settle the great debate of EU versus NA. And don't forget about the Latin American. Don't forget about the Asia. Don't forget about OCE. We're talking about Fortnite, baby, worldwide. Some of the best competitors all throwing down, and it's all happening here in this amazing month here. I cannot wait to see who's going to walk away champion here for EU, and I cannot wait to see who's going to walk away for champion in NA East, so the debate's going to kick up back up again.
You can see right now we're hopping on board here with that second place team on the leaderboard who's going to try and take advantage of that opportunity to shrink that leaderboard and shrink the lead of that top trio. But I'm glad you mentioned something about Latin America, because there's an international land. We've seen just how good King can be in those circumstances, but right now all the focus is on Europe as Xqueeze, aka MCES, duck on top there, finds a nice little knock and some key shots on players trying to rotate in. Now this positioning, we've talked about it time and time before, it's called a gatekeeping position. When you're in the safe zone and pressuring players who have the zone at their back, or either already into it and need to make it into the new safe zone. It's where a lot of teams who had the foresight to rotate earlier are able to get key opportunities to pick up eliminations. And you can see right now, Duck on top doing a great job spraying down shots there, having control of the pieces in the area, and now trying to locate where that weak member is.
And we're seeing already the rest of the lobby, seems to heating up at the right moment. Hen picks up a knock right there in the Elam feed, so that's going to be huge for them. Now that we know that the big monsters are out of the game, that's just going to make everyone play a little bit more loose. It's like all of a sudden the parents are not watching it anymore. The kids are going to run rambunctious. The Rugrats are going to do what they do best, and that's going to be an opportunity that they have to capitalize. You're going to have a big pop-up game here if you're Analyx, Xqueeze, and Giannis, if you want an opportunity to get that first place. And I mean, we're all going to have to keep an eye on. We talked about moments leading to bigger moments, and that moment of the opening engagement from Thomas, Flick, and Anas getting out Mongrel is causing so much waves throughout the entire time. And look at that. Analyx, Giannis have someone on the ropes in that back half. Let's take a look at the overall picture here and see who's going to have a strong position going forward. This is going to be a very interesting in-game.
Tati, si quieres pasarte por el canal del que comentó antes, Loco de Historias. Está bueno. Yo pensé no pasar a la final, no la repetición. Un modo creativo. ¿Quién que juegue? Si puedes que jugar. Aquí. Voy a jugar creativo. Como que andar en el ruedo. Uy, tan rayado. puede ir tan leído. Tanto... qué rara. Todas son así. Tati te dejó. ¿Por qué anda tan lejos? What the fuck? ¿Por qué se quedó así ahora? No voy a jugar. Bueno. No puede ser, ¿verdad? GTA en línea, vamos a probar esto. Es verdad. Esto se supone que es online. Muelle. La verdad muy parecido, no lo veo, pero bueno. Elimination. Lo quiero. Taxi. Apartamento. Se rechocado. Esto que es un beneficio. ¿Eh? ¿Qué cosa? ¿Retire de cosas? Ah, sí. O sea, porque hay un casino y después hay un arcade. El banco. ¿Qué es esto? ¿De aeropuerto? No sé si sí, creo que no. ¿Cómo se supone que se hace? No sé qué jugar. La táctica. Anda, ya me tenía que ir. No sé qué hacer. Ay, ahora me agarré bien. ¿Qué? No, ahora me agarré. ¿Por qué iba tan legueado? Nada. ¿Y qué pasó? Listo. Creo un grupo de audio, pues si no, no. ¿Quién está abierto ahora? Comendo. ¿Quién es? Está aquí y lo que no creo. No, se me corta el directo. Bueno, voy a reiniciar el directo. Voy a reiniciar el directo y voy a jugar a GTA Online, creo.